life when you're hungry.
All right, I am here with the Meek Squad and the producers or audio engineers who helped produce their latest album that came out. Has it been a year? No, hasn't been that long.
How long has it been? March 2020. It's been
Okay. Wow.
a year and a half.
A year and a half. That's great.
In the time warp of COVID life.
Exactly. Like COVID time, it just feels it's like one day after another. So why don't you all just introduce yourselves? Because for folks out there that are going to be watching this video, this is the first time that I've met any of them as well. So why don't we I'll start with the top left, Daniel, and then Lee, and then Jeff.
Hey, I'm Daniel Goans, and I worked on the production side of this record.
What company are you with, Daniel?
Well, it's just me. I produce records. I'm also in a band with my wife, and our band is called Lowland Hum.
Cool.
And those are the two main things I do. And my favorite records that I work on usually involve Jeff as well.
Right on.
Yeah,
right.
So I'm based in Charlottesville, Virginia, and
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, right on. Are you friends or colleagues, or have you run into Isaac Wardell and?
Yeah, we're good friends.
The Porter's Gate, all that. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife sings on some Porter's Gate stuff, and Isaac and I hang a lot, and
awesome.
he's actually now in Europe. But
right, I was about to say not anymore. You're not going to hang out very much.
yeah, that's right. But
okay.
Hopefully he'll come back somewhere near and we can link up again. But yeah, Lauren just sang on a Porter's Gate thing 2 weeks ago. Right
on. That's awesome. Good. Small world.
Yeah.
What about you, Lee?
Yeah, I'm Lee. I am songwriter of Meek Squad, and I'm joined in that group by Sloan, Meek, and Savia Carroll. Sing and do some writing with me. Yeah.
Cool. And you're out of Durham, is that right?
Yeah, I'm in Durham,
North Carolina. Tri-Cities, right on. And what about you, Jeff?
I'm Jeff Crawford. I'm from Chapel Hill. I also worked on the production and hosted the event at my studio, Arbor Studios. I was also present at the KNW when maybe Meek Squad got approved the name. That's a big claim to fame,
It was nice. At KNW lunch. It was also the one who named the file of the first rough mixes that you sent out to us from the recording. You named the file Meek Squad, and that was I think you also just started calling us Meek Squad in the studio. Which is kind of how that nickname.
Well, my hidden talent is naming file folders or files. Daniel can attest to that.
He's really good.
It's a hidden talent that only people behind the scenes get to see.
Right.
I thought we would listen to "I Am For You," which is kind of one of the main songs of the album that kind of took off, and then. Maybe Jeff, or maybe Lee, you can tell us a little bit about who the Meek Squad is and what you guys do before we get into the details of the actual album, which is really what caught my ears when I heard this. So let's listen to this. Let me share my screen real quick. I'll just share the whole screen so you can see the pretty the cover.
I am the bread of life. When you're hungry, I will feed you. I am the bread of for you. I am for you. I am for you. I am the light of the world. In the darkness I am shining. I am the light of the world. In the darkness I will lead you. I am for you. I am for you. I am for you. I am for you. I am the good shepherd. From your fears I will protect you. I am the good shepherd. When you wander, I will seek you. I am for you. I am for you. I am for you. I am for you. I am who I am. Who I am. Who I am. I am.
All right, Lee, tell us a little bit about who is the Meek Squad.
Yeah. So, Meek Squad's myself, Sloan Meek, and Savia Carroll. We all met kind of through a ministry in Durham called Reality Ministries. It was started in 2010, and the mission of it is really just creating space for friendships to form amongst people of different abilities, intellectual and developmental disabilities. And I started volunteering back in 2010. And I was paired up with Sloan my first night that I went to an evening group at Reality, which just involves having a meal and playing some games and singing some songs. And I'll be honest, when I was paired up with Sloan, I was told that he was blind and that his speech was limited to like a few words. He could say yeah and but that he understood what was going on around him pretty good. And yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't really know how it was out of my comfort zone in terms of how am I going to relate to this person who I'm supposed to be hanging out with one-on-one for the next hour and a half.
Yeah.
And when we got to the music part of the evening, Sloan started singing as you hear on that track there, and I was just really struck by his singing. I could tell it was from the heart, and that was where we were able to connect, and something I started looking forward to each week as we were getting together to hang out at Reality. And so yeah, we got to be better friends, and then there's a big banner in the back of the Reality Center. it's actually there on the cover of the Meek Squad album. It says "I am for you," and it hangs in the back of this kind of like large meeting room where we have these gatherings, and it's kind of like become sort of emblematic of like this is really what Reality Ministries is all about. This experience of belonging to God, to one another, and this this like message of God being for us in the person of Jesus. So Sloan and I just we were just hanging out one day, and it was like, let's try to put it to music. Let's try to put those words on for you to music. And at the time there was like the series of talks that were being given at Reality were about the I am statements of Jesus. So the song kind of the lyrics kind of wrote themselves in terms of it was kind of what we had been reflecting on as a community. Mm-hmm. And then it was just like a process of just kind of writing with Sloan, kind of like getting his feedback. Do you like this line? Trying to kind of match his singing style some on the chorus. Mm-hmm. And we ended up writing this song, I'm For You. And then we shared it with the community. People loved getting to hear Sloan singing it. And so it kind of became like something we would share from time to time that started to become something that we'd sing as a community. And then about like 6 or 7 years ago, Sloan moved into a neighborhood called North Street. That was like a group of families and friends that had met through Reality Ministries, mm-hmm. who all wanted to just live close together, and ended up moving into like a couple blocks of downtown Durham together. So Sloan moved there. Like a year later, I moved there, and we have like some daily prayer rhythms as a neighborhood. So we meet for morning and evening prayer on weekdays, and so I started going to that and bringing my guitar and just started writing more songs and like prayer songs, and we would sing there. And then a few years later, Savia moved into the neighborhood, and I was kind of noticed like anytime I'd be walking around with her, she was kind of always singing, and I was like, "You're a singer, aren't you?" And so she started singing more at prayer, and we started singing together. She started singing at Reality, and so that's kind of like how we all met and got to be friends through music. And then a few years ago, I was given the opportunity to I was offered the opportunity to lead music at a Duke summer conference for reconciliation. It's called the Summer Institute of Reconciliation.
Yep.
And I was really excited about the opportunity, but it was one of these things where I just felt like I couldn't really do it on my own. But I immediately thought about Sloan and Savia, and I was like, I can do it. I can do it with them. And so the three of us got to lead music there for a week, and that was kind of where we, I think, kind of gelled as a group. And so yeah, and then like I guess it was like a couple of years back, it kind of got to the point where it's like I think there's enough songs that I've written that are like prayer songs that we could do a little album. So I reached out to Daniel, and then it kind of went from there.
Very cool. You know, one of the more impactful relationships that I had while I was in seminary was a couple who now run or are a part of and founders of a ministry called the Julian Way.
Okay.
And their life's work at this point is on disability theology, and they're just beautiful people, and they helped me see, and through one of Justin Hancock is and Lisa Hancock is his wife, Dr. Lisa Hancock. I think she just finished her PhD. He did a presentation on the history of the church and disability, and really focused in on the more recent history, as in like the last 100 years. And it was this shows my ignorance of this particular intersection in the history of the church, but it was startling how terrible it has been, and the amount of work that's being done right now through a lot of intentional communities that, like you were just describing, people who are living together and just upholding each other's sacredness and asking questions that I think the church has been scared to ask until now for some reason. I think there's just a lot of power in that, and I that's where I see the church at work, is through these. I'm just watching all these intentional communities pop up all over the place, and as far as the church's song goes, that's where I'm finding. People talk about authentic. It's a problematic word when we talk about authenticity with music, but that's where I find that, I don't know, it's real. And I think that's what really caught my ear when someone just posted on Liturgy Fellowship, which is this awesome Facebook group. If you want like a great ecumenical Facebook group that just like uplifts like random worship resources and has really like positive discussions where you don't have a bunch of trolls, Liturgy Fellowship. Someone posted this album and I listened to it. I went, whoa. What I heard was, and this is what spurred me to reach out, was somehow, and maybe this is where we get to Jeff and Daniel, through the recording, mixing, mastering, engineering process, you seemed to find a way to make it sound really good. Like I want to listen to it as a listener. Like my ear enjoys it, but it also sounds real. Like if I walked into a community who is singing this song, it would sound like that. It's not so overproduced that it's obviously not like a real group of people singing this. And that's where I think worship music has struggled in the recording industry. Is, if you just record like a congregation singing, with no rehearsal, it's just generally not very fun to listen to, like as just a listener, right? It may be like an interesting like thought process, like, but generally I don't like kick up an album that I, listen to with just a rough congregation sing. Although I love doing that in person, obviously. And there's a power in that. But then on the other end of the spectrum is like these really highly polished, CCM albums that I listen to it and I think, this isn't what God's people sound like when they sing together. But this album somehow just sat right in the middle. It's like, this is what God's people sound like when they sing together, but I'm also very much enjoying listening to it like on this recorded kind of, and I think that's what really sparked my curiosity and why I reached out to say, how did that happen? Walk me through that process of how you got from what Lee just described of, building a community over years of relationship building and songwriting, and then saying, okay, we've got enough to make an album. Then what happened?
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in because I just want to explain a little bit about what it was like to receive the initial email from Lee, and then I asked for some demos of the songs, and so I'll never forget sitting just about 20 feet from where I am right now outside, and I've worked with Lee a couple of different times over the years, a bunch of times over the years on music stuff. And Jeff and I have also worked with Lee before this as well. So we knew about that process, but this was such a different project. and I've spent a little time in Lee's community when we're traveling through, and so I know about the profound and sometimes really transcendent love that is happening there. And I've been eating dinner there before and just started crying because I just can't believe I'm eating dinner in this way. Like I was just like, what? I just can't believe this is happening. And so I knew about that, and so was honored to be involved in any way with capturing what's going on. And that's really how. So I'm listening back to Lee's demos, and I'm just crying because it is different than. It's very different than three amazing singers doing a great take of a song that's really rehearsed. It's not what I'm hearing, but what I'm hearing is songs that are incredibly distilled and clear, and they sound like prayers in a way that almost no other songs I've ever heard sound like. Even songs that set psalms to music still don't sound like prayers sometimes to me. Like somewhat, like I've heard psalm settings where I'm like, I don't know why, but this, I don't know, it's hard to explain. But when I'm listening to these demos, I was like, wow, I'm hearing a community's prayers, and I'm hearing it from a community, and it sounded, and I felt invited into that. And so what I really wanted to do and try to figure out how to do was, could we share what's happening in a way that opens up enough space for people to enter in and to stay there, even with some of the discomfort of unfamiliar sounds in music. And I think we didn't know exactly how to do that. And we had lots of emails going back and forth, lots of phone calls, and lots of prayer. But what we knew was that it's obvious that God is doing something in this community. It's obvious that these songs come from a place of love and from a place of reaching out to God. And it seemed clear that recording that and being able to share that with more people, obviously a recording can go more places quicker than any people ever could. So opening up that space seemed really important. And so we believed that if we prepped as much as we could and then we're really open in the moment, we would be able to kind of move out of the way anything that would block people from experiencing it, including one example is, I remember, so we invited a bunch of the community members in to sing in the choir after we had recorded the basic tracks. And because Lee is so close and has lived in that community for a long time, after a take, I would kind of look to him to be like, was that too crazy? Or was that like kind of like, or, not crazy, but, there'd be sometimes it would get really silly. The subject matter may not be silly of the song, but that is part of the expression. And it's kind of like this very, like, there was a line that we tried to stay on. And sometimes Lee would be like, hey man, that was like, you were being too silly. Like, let's try to rein it in a little bit on the next take. And I didn't have the vocabulary down at all. And I was it was like, recording is always a process where you have to be super present. But this was like that to a whole different level, because I feel like we were feeling our way. It was almost like in each moment we were like, are we closer on that one? We're like, okay, I think we're getting closer. Let's keep going. And it was it was truly profound for me. And I think changed and expanded definitions of beauty, augmented definitions of beauty for me. And was a life-changing experience. And yeah, I don't want to talk for too long, but that I think our goal was to put things around the songs that would allow what is happening to come through to someone who doesn't have context, to someone who doesn't know what all's going on and doesn't already think this is a really beautiful thing, but what would be inviting and hospitable and accurate. So those were some of the lines I think we were trying to walk. And Lee or Jeff, please fill out or change anything I said.
So,
And that tracks with what my experience was. I think the thing I would add would be, in my experience, going to reality or seeing Lee with Sloan is a no-brainer that, it will redefine your definition of what worship can be if you're there in the room. But the challenge was how to bring that to somebody who couldn't see it and couldn't be there. And I think the thing that was so crucial was having Sloan and Savaya around kind of, a lot, and in a way that just kind of navigated the emotional and spiritual experience of the recording process. Having them as kind of, they were singing and participating fully, but also kind of being barometers of how the other arrangement and other pieces are coming along was extremely crucial. And I think, you're not going into experience of like, you're going to go into a big room and record everybody literally. That's not the kind of project this was. So the challenge was how to get that feeling with some other kind of tools. I think having them around was crucial to that.
Mm-hmm. And I also want to say about Jeff, all this was happening at Jeff's space at Arbor Ridge Studios, and Jeff really has cultivated an atmosphere of peace, and it's very restful. Many studios don't feel that way. Many studios feel like they're mainly focused on vibe or on other things, and I think Jeff's studio has a great vibe, but it's just that Jeff's focus on hospitality and on kind of serenity, I think created a welcoming space for us to explore it was scary, honestly, a few times. We felt like, what are we? It just felt vulnerable. It felt very vulnerable. And there was risk in reaching out to try to capture something that is so special and that is cultivated over a long period of time. And that some sounds that were made sound like sounds of pain. If I were to make some of the sounds that Sloan would make, it could sound like a painful sound. And just learning whether Sloan felt like that was a good take, trying to be really sensitive to what's happening and stay open. And I think Jeff's particular long, faithful investment in his place being hospitable and peaceful and welcoming, I think helped us stay there and kind of hang in there until we got to something. And we had to push through a lot of tension in the week, I remember. And it helps that all three of us really love each other and enjoy each other. That really helps. And there'd be moments of total hilarity and like we laughed a ton, but it was also Lee had the idea of us doing morning, midday, and evening prayer throughout the process of recording. And I think those anchor points helped us kind of return to the fact that we are a small part of a huge thing that's happening in the world. And
that's interesting you say that, because like one of the things people generally hate are like really, really long multi-day meetings. So we have, we're a nonprofit, so we have a board of directors, right? An executive board and they meet usually for 3 days in the fall. It's the fall board meeting. And we used to meet at Richmond Hill, which is this neo-monastic community in Richmond, Virginia. And we would participate in their morning, noon, and evening prayers. And so no matter what was happening in those meetings, we'd be like, in the budget, or, you've been like talking about one issue for like 2 hours and everyone's just like bug-eyed. And then the bell would ring and we would pray and we would eat. And everyone wanted to go to our board meetings. Like there wasn't like everyone was like, I would very happily go to this board meeting than do anything else like at school or work or whatever I'm doing, because there's something powerful about that daily prayer. And I love that you wove that into the recording process. That is amazing. That just kind of blew my mind. Like, why doesn't every Christian album that is recorded in the history of Christian albums, why weren't they doing daily prayer as a part of the process?
Yeah, I love that we got to do that. That was real.
Did you do that in the studio?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in the space that you're recording in, you didn't like switch spaces. You're just like, stop. We're gonna worship now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I wanted the whole. I wanted the
there too. I mean, eating there together.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
I really wanted the whole process of making, like the process itself of making the album to be a prayer, and I just got. I mean, I'll just say, kind of, to your question, Brian. Like, I just got to say, like, what a gift it is to be able to like, to share these songs with Daniel and Jeff. Like, they have an ability to craft and play and record really beautiful arrangements. And I think to like bring these, like, I had these songs that were just like me on acoustic guitar with Sons Via, but like such a gift to be able to bring the songs to them and have this trust that like they could bring like beauty and fullness, or like could kind of like help these songs grow, and that like not only is there like the musical capability there, but like I knew that they would understand and enter into like the spirit of making this album. And so like when I like something like wanting the process of recording the album to be a prayer, like I knew that like there was a trust there in my relationship with Daniel and Jeff that like they would enter into that and know what that like would just and so to be able to really be in that space that way together is really such a gift. I don't know like who else I would go to for that. So yeah.
You know what I'm hearing is, you know, 11 years, Lee, you've been building relationships and living in community, and you know, Daniel and Jeff and anyone else that sounds like that was involved in the project came into the project with a level of humility and respect of that long-term deep relationship building that had been done and was continuing, and entered into that space, and I've heard that at least 3 or 4 times now, that I think when you were talking about Daniel, I think earlier when you were talking about what you were hoping the album could be, and you were hoping that the album could kind of make space for people to enter in to, you know, the beautiful relationships that had been built, and that community. That's what I'm hearing, is that you all were on the same page of there's a level of humility and respect for the relationships that are involved here that I think that really shined through and is what helped make this album, I think, really successful.
And it's a gift that Daniel mentioned having dinner in the community before, and like I think Jeff was one of the first folks that invited me and Sloan to sing "I'm For You" at the church where he was doing music, and so there were like it was a gift that Jeff and Daniel been around in and around Reality Ministries and North Street, and knew Sloan some, and Savaya. So yeah.
I want to listen to one more song from the album, and I really appreciate you all taking the time to talk to me. I didn't come in here with an agenda other than I wanted to learn more about it, because I think it was just so wonderful and unique, from what I've heard. And as the center, that, part of my job is to look around and find awesome things, right, and then tell other people about it. That's like a core part of what I do as the director of the Center for Congregational Song. And so I appreciate you taking the time to just speak with me and tell me about this. One more accolade, I Am For You. One of the things I really like about that is when we talk about like disability theology and what it connects very deeply to, both historically and current day, is how we understand the creation story, and how we understand God creating people. Because that, if you go down a certain road with how you understand that, then it can become very problematic for people who have differing abilities, in a really negative and harmful way. And what I love about this song, I Am For You, on the album, is that, the I am, and I think at the very end you loop I am a couple of times. You drop For You, I am, which connects back to like one of the original names for God and this Old Testament understanding of God the Creator, and the I am, the Alpha and Omega. But then you connect it into the I am sayings of Jesus, and you give us all these different names for Jesus, which is also unique in recorded Christian music, because we just always love to call Jesus the same thing: King, 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 King. And then you get this song and it's like, oh, all these different names for Jesus. It's so interesting, and I find it theologically sits in a really healthy, really forward-looking place that I think the church needs more of. So kudos on that.
I second that, Lee.
Yeah.
And I also want to say, I've showed this record to a couple of people who've said they no longer can listen to anything that's Christian. And then multiple people have written me and said, I can listen to that though. And I think it's because of it creating a different space that feels like a refreshment. And I experienced that. I know I worked on it, but even if I didn't, I think the songs themselves and the way that it came together for me has been a helpful thing, and for my family too.
So the other song I wanted to listen to was Alleluia. I was listening through the album again this morning, just I wanted to make sure we got to hear a few things during the interview. And every time I think that we have enough Alleluias, then I find another one and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. It's been like 4,000 years of Jewish and Christian people singing Alleluias, and we're still getting good ones. So there's something powerful about the word, I guess. Anything you want to say about this song? And I figure we'd end the interview with this song. So is there anything you want to leave us with, Jeff or Daniel or Lee?
I'd just like to say something from the arrangement side on this song.
Sure.
There was, there was some feeling around about what would work and how everything was going to fit together. And this one, I have a distinct memory of, once we had the choir in, it just felt, this is it. This is a done thing. It's going to work. The concept makes sense. And I remember that right when we finished the first take of this, it was like, this is going to be beautiful.
Yeah, this is the choir is a bunch of people from North Street, and I think this was like we were getting ready to have a Easter liturgy at the corner house, which is one of the community houses at North Street, and we had been not saying. I think we had been refraining from saying Alleluia throughout Lent, and then one of my housemates was like, hey man, you think we could maybe sing Alleluia? And so this was kind of like a pretty in the moment, just like that's how it came. That's how the writing came to be, and yeah.
The thing I love about it, and this maybe goes back to the arrangement. It's a simple song. It's not complicated, which I tend to gravitate towards. I find, well, it's more congregationally friendly, generally speaking. But what I love about the arrangement is I start harmonizing to it almost immediately, and then the harmonies come in, and it like it makes me anticipate what's going to happen in this really lovely way, and then it kind of just fleshes out into this full thing. I just think it's really beautiful and extremely congregational. I could see like tons of congregations being able to utilize this and just sing. And any time, especially nowadays in the U.S., because congregational singing it needs to be nurtured, and singing in harmony is not a natural occurrence as much anymore. Any song that I hear where I think, oh, a congregation could easily start singing in harmony here, I love that. And so I think that's what this song achieves, and so I'm grateful for it. So Daniel, Lee, Jeff, thank you very much. And here is Alleluia from the album. Yeah, it's just Alleluia. Here we go.
I